Welcome to an all-new episode of the Work Shoot Wrestling Podcast. This is Corey Richmond, joined by Jason Brooks. Jason, welcome to another interesting week of wrestling. Just like you, I am now fully vaccinated, so this long mane will be finally going away. Like you are, not as nifty of a haircut, and congratulations on the fresh new do. But I'll be going back into the real world, I guess, a little bit more. Slightly comfortable, still wearing a mask, of course, because I'm not from Florida. But Jay, how are you doing today?
Or Texas. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm doing okay. Went out to dinner with my wife for the first time in a year, basically. On Tuesday, it was very nice. So I know that a lot of people have feelings about the vaccine, but I think if we want to ever get over this, you've got to get the fucking vaccine. So please take care of yourself, and hope everybody's doing okay out there.
Absolutely. So Jay, usually we try to get the most annoying part of the wrestling week out of the way, and I guess we'll continue with that and get the better stuff as we go along. But we have a couple of Wrestlemania matches announced now. Wrestlemania tickets, the pre-sale was today. I haven't seen so far how well they've done, but initially the tickets were supposed to sale on Tuesday. It got pushed back till Friday. Pre-sale was today. There's many restrictions. Everybody's got to wear masks. We've got the big matches, which could change based on Fastlane. But as of right now, we've got Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. We've got some sort of combination of either Daniel Bryant, Roman Reigns, and Edge. We've got Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. And we've got the tag team match with the new Raw Tag Team Champions of the New Day for the 11th time versus AJ Styles and Omos, which look like he had his first, at least main roster match. So any of those matches really entice you? I mean, coming into the last couple of weeks, you would say the Bianca and Sasha match I think that's cooled off a little bit. But knowing those are the four matches we have, how are you feeling about, less than 30 days away for WrestleMania?
Not great. I feel like here's my problem, I think, with particularly the Raw side. I think the SmackDown side is interesting. They've spent and I'm not even going to say the Miz is terrible and they've done a bad job with him, all that stuff we already know, but they spent so much time on him on television over these last couple of months. And I know he's going to be going against Bad Bunny or whatever, and I'm glad for Damian Priest getting a spot. Good for him. But they spent so much time on the Miz that I think they've lost, and then Sheamus being mad at Drew and turning on him. The show has had no rhythm at all, whereas SmackDown has kind of, for the most part, has had a clear kind of rhythm to it. And so I think when it comes to WrestleMania season, generally we always complain about stuff with Vince, but usually things like kind of come into focus. So we can start getting excited about the possibility of Lashley against Drew. Sheamus is in the mix somewhere in there. You knew Miz wasn't going to win this title. You knew he wasn't going to go to WrestleMania with this title. But they spent so much time building him up that, it was hard to get excited about stuff. So, I don't know. I think a lot of this issue is the fact that the show has not had a good rhythm.
Yeah, I wish I could disagree with you. I mean, like I said, do we think that the next 25 days will Vince pull a rabbit out of his hat, or and figure something out and make wrestling interesting, which they usually do most years? I'm sure they'll figure out something in that way. But with the four matches we have so far, I don't feel the excitement level of a 2-day Raw. I'm sorry, 2-day Raw. It feels more like a Raw/SmackDown. It doesn't feel like that great build for the biggest event of the year.
Do you think the fans not being there has something to do with it for you, or no?
It did in the beginning, not as much anymore, because I feel like we've both said it's kind of an excuse at this point with no fans. But I think that's going to be the biggest factor of WrestleMania. For the first time in over a year, they're actually going to be judged on what's over and not, because we can say that in our own minds that, the Drew McIntyre push has or has not worked as him as champion. You could say because of ratings or whatever else, or and you can't even say based on buy rates because of WWE Network. If you have it, you have it because of $10 price range. But I don't know. I mean, I think that's going to be the full idea of like, I fully believe Roman Reigns is going to be cheered because he's a badass on TV. I think there's a 50-50 chance that, Drew McIntyre gets cheered. Bobby Lashley looks like, especially what they did on Monday with the almighty gimmick, with fully embracing that this Monday, he might get cheered. I mean, you don't know who's going to get cheered, who's going to get booed, who's really over. Are people tired of the New Day as champion? Are people going to care about, me and you couldn't care less about the Fiend character, as we never talk about it, but are people going to be into it, at the show? And then we're going to look like something we haven't spoken about for more than 3 minutes per episode, if that much. And we're going to have to say, look what was truly over, besides people singing the song, a couple of years ago. We don't know what's really over with
I don't know that. I think things being over is a week-to-week thing, right? I think things build up over time. 25,000 marks, who are just excited to be watching wrestling live. God bless them. We're marks too, so I'm not, hammering them, but 25,000 people excited to be out, excited to go to a show. I mean, they would cheer, me wrestling you. Like, they don't give a shit. They're just excited to be out and be doing stuff. So I don't know that that's really an indication of anything. Now, if they started doing some type of live show, then you would have something. But I don't think that they're doing that. So I think this is going to be what it's going to be. But I mean more just the build up to stuff. I feel like is missing the fans. I don't know. I feel like it hasn't bothered me that much up until, and you could say Raw is so bad that whatever, but I feel like because I feel like the fans would have rejected this Miz stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's certain things that would at least Vince and we one thing that eventually we want to talk about maybe after WrestleMania is over is the idea of what this product is, and Raw in particular, and what the product will continue to be. But there's no gauge for him. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting as far as WrestleMania. I mean, the most interesting thing is what they do with Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan. Like, that's by far the most interesting thing. And so I guess we'll see. But am I like excited? No, I am way more excited about Stand and Deliver. Like, I am geeked. I think that's going to be a great show. So I'm excited about one, not really excited about the other, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And I mean, and one of the things that's you brought this up, like with the Miz and some of the other stuff that goes on with the piped in cheers and boos and everything that they predetermined with the Thunderdome. And unless you're truly looking at reactions of the people on the screens, you have no idea what really is or is not working. I mean, you might hear every once in a while someone on a random podcast say that they were part of the audience on the Thunderdome and they're being told what to boo and what to cheer. Like, if you watched Monday, until Monday, did you have any idea that Braun Strowman was supposed to be the babyface or that Shane McMahon was supposed to be the heel? I mean, I have no idea who we're supposed to root for in some of these feuds. And as you say, I'm one of the marks of the marks, and you would think we'd have a better idea.
I mean, the Strowman McMahon thing is not even worth discussing. But yes, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. So some of these ideas for WrestleMania, I don't know where they're coming up with them. So, but
I totally agree. So before we move on to some more entertaining things, one of the matches that is confirmed for WrestleMania, and they haven't decided, at least at this point, add in, a Carmella or someone else, is the Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair part of this feud now, or match. And a month ago when she won the Royal Rumble, I was all in. I was like, especially with the climate we're in the country and everything else going on, two strong, independent African-American females most likely headlining one of the nights of the show. All in, still in for that because I think they can put on a great show. But the build-up for it, especially with the segment we had this week, and once again going for the the tag team titles and everything else, I feel this thing it started too soon, but I really think they've lost a lot of the heat or the build for this, and it feels like just another match right now. It doesn't feel special. Maybe they can, after Fastlane, they'll get it when Sasha truly has become maybe a heel.
I mean, they only have two. We only have 2 weeks. God, I agree with you. And as much as, for the most part, we've been praising SmackDown, this Reginald thing is so stupid. Why is he so involved in this? Who is this fucking guy? And why is he on my TV every week? I liked him with Carmella. Honestly, I like what they did with Carmella. You know, he'd wrestle a match against a woman, put the woman over. I thought that was good. I don't know what this is that they're doing with him. And, you know, they're doing the whole Shawn Michaels, John Cena going after the tag titles thing. And I get that. It was compelling like 15 years ago. They don't need to keep doing it, which is my problem with what they did with NXT as well this week. Yeah, I think it's lost some luster. Absolutely. I think the issue is I love Sasha as a wrestler. I don't know that there's 3 women's wrestlers who are better than her
all around him.
Well, but on the mic, sometimes she leaves something to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
She is not always the most. She has her lines, and like she has her lines, and sometimes she's not the most compelling. And I don't know. I think they could have just done things to make this more compelling. Instead, it's this whole thing with, it's too, we've advanced so much in this country. We had a match yesterday where these women were bleeding all over the place like stuffed pigs. It's like, we got the Crimson Mask and thumbtacks with AEW, which you know how I feel about the women's division. We've had women main event WrestleMania. We've had so much positive things happening with women's wrestling. We have to have these 2 women, 2 African-American women fighting over the SmackDown women's title, and they're upset over a man. It's like, come on. Like, why are we doing this again? Why are we doing this again with women are upset over a dude and all this fucking stereotypical bullshit? So, I'm cursing a lot today. So yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a good match, but I don't think they've done. I don't think it's been a good build for the storyline at all. Like at all. I think they should have just had Bianca cut promos on her own, and I just think when she was deciding, I thought it was okay, but since she decided, it's been like, oh my god.
No, I totally agree.
And keep Nia Jax off my TV as much as possible. That's a part. She's involved in this. Keep her off my TV.
I will say though, and I wasn't even going to bring this up until you said that. I did enjoy the segment of the with maybe it was because of
she wasn't wrestling.
Yes,
I think that's why.
I was going to say because of Shayna. I thought because of Shayna's just facial reaction during the makeover segment, I thought that was funny. The fact that, can we just get back to the wrestling? I started looking at her phone, so disgusted. Was just basically the wrestling fan, the marks who are sitting there going, really? Do we have to deal with this? But I thought that was funny, but I totally agree with you. I mean, let's just get back to it. And we don't always need to do this storyline. And they even said it on commentary of the whole John Cena versus with Shawn Michaels of being tag team champions heading into the match at WrestleMania. We don't need that every single time in order to be a storyline of dominant people not being able to, we just have a match. It doesn't have to be this. So
no, I mean, you can cut promos. You could go to video packages. You could talk about Bianca Belair's story a little bit more. You could talk about Sasha's story. You could talk about them, where they came from and where they grew up and what they've had to go through. I mean, they could do a million things. I mean, what they did with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte for a little while there, I thought they told a tremendous.
Who is she? I haven't.
Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. I thought they told a tremendous story last year about. Rhea Ripley, being new and working her way up and earning a spot. I thought it was a great story. Like, so I mean, they can do it when they want to, but I think sometimes they're like, we can't come up with anything. All right, get Reggie in there. I mean, right? It's just anyway. Let's move on.
And last thing, and Jay, you don't have to comment if you want to, but I wanted to give one piece of positivity on the WWE main roster this week, and I didn't even mean to say it that way, but I just want to say I thought the Big E promo on SmackDown was really good. I think it's one of the better promos he's done since he's become a single. Because that whole type thing he did when he was on talking talking smack when everyone's saying you have to be more serious and get rid of the fun-loving guy to be taken seriously as a singles performer. Thought the promo he did on Raw saying he's back and he's not taking S from anybody, I thought really worked well for his character.
I agree.
All right, so moving on to the more entertaining and interesting things. We'll start quickly on Tuesday, just because we mostly won't have a lot of time to talk about it, but this past Saturday we had the TNA Impact Sacrifice pay-per-view. We have couple of new champions. We have Ace Austin as their new cruiserweight, their X Division champion. I think that's going to be a good direction for them. I think he's a really good on the mic and in ring, so I think that'll be a nice direction for them going there. New tag team champions with FinJuice. I'm guessing it's going to be a one-month title reign, especially the fact that they're in Japan, and I'm guessing they mostly have already taped this show. I think the Good Brothers will get it back, but I thought that was a good match, and if you have New Japan World, you can see that match if they put it on their service. And the big one, which, Jay, if you want to comment on any of that, or just the idea of the fact we have a new unified champion. We've got Rich Swann beat Moose going into Rebellion. You're going to have Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega, title versus title.
Yeah, I mean, Ace Austin, there aren't too many better guys in the company in Impact than Ace Austin, in my opinion, on the mic and in the ring. So good for him winning the title. I think TJP is great in the ring, but I think it was time for another guy to win the belt. The tag match, good for FinJuice. They're in New Japan now, right? And so I think they might. I guess they'll come back live for the show, right?
I don't know if it's a tape show or a live show. I'm not sure how that's going to work.
But it would make sense. So if they come back live. And then they, wrestle for the tag titles, lose the titles, but then they're involved in tapings the next couple of weeks. So, we'll kind of see what happens, but that'll be interesting. Yeah, and then we have Swann now against Omega. I've said it before. I think Swann kind of carries himself like a mid-carder with his music and his clothes and everything. But, it is good. It's good for him. It's good for Impact. I thought the promo that he had was just okay. I love what Callis said. And so I think it could be interesting. But quick, I mean, Impact is in a funny position here. They can't have a screwy finish, right? They have to have a real finish.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the competition that's going to kill them in about 3 weeks. But
well, no, I mean, beyond that, that's whatever. I mean, they could do the show earlier. I mean, they come up with shit, but sure. And we could talk about that too, but like more so how they're gonna book this show. And we could talk about it more as we get closer. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do with Omega. Like I have no idea what they're gonna. He has to win.
Yeah.
And then if he wins, God, your champion's on another company. Like, what are they gonna do? Make a new TNA title? I mean, so they're in a really, really interesting spot. With Omega and Swann, but I think it's going to be obviously a tremendous match. Probably if I had to guess, I'd say probably a match of the year candidate. I would not be surprised because they're going to really go crazy. But yeah, so a good show from Impact. Impact continues to be a very solid company for sure. We'll see what develops here and what happens in Moose. Do we see Moose, working his way out of Impact, and what happens there?
Yeah, I think there have been rumors one way or another that he might have like another 3 or 4 months left, or might have another year. I mean, from what I've heard from different sites, I think his contract list, like Jordan Grace, is up, I think, like in mid-May. So I think he's most likely, and that's somebody who AEW should definitely, once she's available, that's an automatic. NXT's got enough people. Jordan Grace should be one of the first people that AEW goes after, but we can talk about that more, as we go along. But I agree with you. I think Impact is doing a really good job with the limited audience they have right now, and the fact that they are a feeder system for everyone else. It was a nice thing that Trey Miguel decided to stay there because of whatever situation he is in personally, unlike the other members of the Rascals who went to NXT. I think that what they're doing now with Trey Miguel and some of the other guys there and Chris Bay, think they've got a nice future, and I think that what they have to do in the next couple of months after Omega wins the title, which if he doesn't win the title, I think that's a disaster. They've got to build guys up in their lower, these younger guys, to build somebody up who will become credible enough when the AEW storyline is done, or when they've decided that Omega doesn't need to be the face of that brand, who's ready to take the title off him. Like I said, either an Ace Austin, a Trey Miguel, a Chris Bay, someone of that ilk. It can't be an Eddie Edwards or an Eric Young, again, somebody who's been there for 400 years. And what you were talking about before, Kenny Omega was doing filmings this past Monday and Tuesday for this set of tapings. So he's going to be part of their TV leading up to Rebellion.
I mean, shit, I'd hope so. He's fighting for the title.
Yeah,
and just last point, I agree with you 100% in terms of their younger talent. It's funny looking at all these companies. MLW kind of has like mostly younger guys and kind of underutilized guys, Impact guys, and guys because they don't have any women. And then Impact seems to have like similar, particularly with the women, like underutilized women, and then younger performers. And then there's obviously AEW and NXT and WWE, which are, kind of become they're the creme de la creme. So it is interesting how like this works. And then Ring of Honor is kind of its own thing. Interesting.
Yeah, which we'll talk more about next week with their
So I think they need to build a company around. If Trey Miguel stays, they need to say, Trey Miguel, what's your price? Chris Bay, what's your price? Ace Austin, what's your price? They need to build a company around those three guys. There's no and Moose if he stays. And I love Rich Swann. Rich Swann's a mid-carder. I love Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards is a mid-carder. I love Sami Callihan, who he can main event stuff here and there and be like that heel. But those three guys are the guys that the company should build itself around. And they had Ethan Page too, which they could have done that, but unfortunately things didn't work out there. So we shall see how it's going to go for Impact.
Absolutely. So unless you have other things you want to talk about, let's get to our favorite night of the week, Wednesday nights. Jay, I mean, I don't know if you'll agree, but the common consensus going around is we saw one of the top 3 or 4 matches of the last maybe decade of women's wrestling on Wednesday as an overall presentation.
Wait. Whoa. Wait a minute. We saw one of the top women's matches in the last decade yesterday. Wait. Well, hold on.
I'm not saying I agree.
Hold on. This Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, internet marks. Get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
Get out of here. It was a great match. And it was such an outlier in terms of being a hardcore match that obviously it was a great match. It was one of the 3 greatest women's matches in the last decade. Come on. We know Meltzer. We know Meltzer's in bed with AEW. We know Alvarez is in bed with AEW, and I love those guys. They're great to listen to. Whatever. What we've seen with NXT and their women's division, and what we've seen with the 4 horsewomen on the main roster in the last 5 or 10 years. You're telling me the match yesterday was one of the 3 best matches in the last 10 years? Basically, within the last 10 years have been basically the greatest women's matches of all
TV.
time.
I'm sorry, I forgot to put the word TV. So we're not saying NXT specials. We're saying TV matches. I'm sorry.
I don't even know what to equate. I don't even know what to equate that as. Right? Can we just say it was a great match and then leave it be? Can we just say it was a great match? And it was. I was not prepared. Now, my anger aside here, it was a great match. And at first I was like, we'll see how, but it worked its way up. It worked its way up, which I enjoyed. And they had to have a last spot like that to end the match. They really did. And I was surprised Thunder Rosa won, because we know Thunder Rosa is going to be on NWA pay-per-view this weekend in a show that I don't know if anybody knows is happening, but it is happening. And so I was surprised the thumbtacks came out. I was not expecting the thumbtacks. I was not expecting as much blood. I thought that was cool. Usually, you know me with the blood, it's like, okay, it's a little excessive, but I thought it was like, I thought it was well
It
done.
worked the storyline.
And I thought that feud needed it. Yeah, I thought that feud needed it with how heated it was, and I also like that they got back to it. You know, it took them a while. They had the tournament, they had this, they had that, but eventually they got back to it. I think Thunder Rosa is a star. We've talked about that I felt that way since I watched in NWA, and just her presence and how she comes out, and then she's fantastic in the ring. She's a natural baby face. And Britt Baker has really gotten better in the ring. Now, it's a spot match, so it's not like it's like a in-ring psychology match. But I mean, it was a great women's hardcore match. Now, there aren't usually many, but I thought it was a tremendous match. So, yeah, I mean, I guess Corey, my thing is it was a great match and everyone's praising it and whatever. But where do they go from here with this division? Obviously, Sheeta's gonna, I guess, go against Thunder Rosa. I mean, Thunder Rosa, I guess, is part of AEW now, as well as being part of NWA. I mean,
That's
it
an
sounds
interesting
like she's
thing.
kind of a part of both.
And you brought up something that I wanted to bring up, and this is part of this weird thing that AEW is having all of these matches, and not matches. I'm sorry, having all these agreements, all these other companies. Did you ever hear in the build up for the Impact pay-per-view, any plug for the match that for the 6-man match? Did you hear anything about that this Sunday that one of their stars person who won this huge match that just happened, that she was going to be on the NWA back, whatever the name of the show is,
Back in the Attack,
back in the Attack on Sunday? Do you hear anything about I mean, yes, I guess you heard the Moxley match was going to be happening on New Japan Strong, but they do not. You're having all this cross promotion, but they never actually say that these other shows are having these events, promoting these other shows, which I find very interesting.
I mean, AEW's got so much shit; they can't keep their own shit in track.
True.
They can't keep. I mean, that promo with Sting and Darby Allin, it's like they had 18 million things happening in that one 5-minute segment. So,
Yeah, so
let's cram everything in. But yeah, no, I think that is interesting. I think the clearly the strongest, when Thunder Rosa first came there, they were like, oh, she's part of NWA. I'd say the strongest promotion they've done was,
but they never actually said go to Fight TV or anything. Or not even
no, I got you. You're right. I think the strongest promotion they gave was to the Moxley match.
Right, Moxley can.
By far. And to be honest with you, Corey, it makes sense. New Japan is, you could say, the greatest wrestling company in the world, especially when they're able to have everybody. You could say that. That is not an outlandish statement. Like saying Thunder Rosa against Britt Baker was one of the 3 greatest women's matches in the last 10 years, right? Saying New Japan, now if you said Impact, or if you said NWA, has Tinus wrestling this week, right? Part of this is, if we're going to mess with New Japan, we got to put them over. They're New Japan. We can't dick around with them like we can with Impact, like we can with NWA. So I think that's probably part of it. And, I mean, I just don't know the agreements, but I also think, again, this is, a great era, great age in wrestling, where we get people going all over the place and doing this and doing that. And I think it's fantastic. So we'll see where they go from here. But I mean, I expect Thunder Rosa to win the title. I mean, right? Like, why wouldn't she?
That's gonna be the interesting thing. I mean, I could see them going both ways, where part of the storyline when they had the last one of these lights out matches where the result doesn't count towards your records, part of the story was, that which made Moxley so upset was the fact that it didn't count at the time, him actually beating, Kenny Omega.
Corey, hold on.
Corey, hold on. Come out as a heel saying, she never, this doesn't count. And I'm still the most dominant woman out there.
Corey, I understand that, but 2 things. One, When's the last time they've even showed these rankings? Like they never show the rankings anymore. Remember they were doing that every week. They're like, oh, this person's 5-1. They don't give a shit about the rankings anymore. Now, everyone just gets the title match. Like it doesn't even. Darby Allin's like anyone in a Dark Order can have a match, like, right? Like it's real random now. They don't care anymore.
Well, that's always been the way with TV titles.
And I'm just saying the rankings. They've punted the rankings pretty much, not totally, but it's like. It's like 4th and 15, right? And so they've mostly punted the rankings. And then the second thing is they clearly showed Sheeta watching the match. Like Sheeta was watching the match, which would make you think now, unless they do some swerve, which would make you think that, that's what that's going to be at some point. But you're right. I mean, we could get a triple threat match even. So there's some way they can get to it, but I expect however they do it, Thunder Rosa is going to be involved, but who knows? They could swerve us, but we'll see what happens.
So like the others, and like I said, I think it's a really good sign, and we'll see where they go from here in the women's division. They've got Cargill and Red Velvet coming up and some other things, so we'll see where that goes.
I wonder if will that be one of the greatest women's matches in the history of wrestling?
Let's get that one in the bud. But after last week's main event angle with the Inner Circle getting killed by MJF's new group, we found out the name of the group. It's the Pinnacle. I thought this was a very big thing for the follow-up, and I think MJF hit this promo out of the park. I mean, I don't know if it's the best promo that MJF has done in his career, but I thought it was a really strong one. Can he wrestle like Ric Flair? No, but he did the promos. He put over everyone in the group. I thought the thing that did them entering the building in the private jet and everything else, I thought that all worked out. I thought they looked like they were special and everything else. And I think that really worked towards getting this group over as just not one of the other 14 other stables that AEW has.
I mean, they're the modern day Evolution.
Or Horseman,
yeah, I'd say Evolution more, because I mean, you could say MJF is Flair or whatever, but they remind me. I think the Horsemen were just different. I think they ran the company. Like Flair was a world champion, Barry Windham was a U.S. champion, and Tully and Arn were the tag. I mean, they ran the company. So I'm not, wherever. Yeah. So I'm not going to get
in the background and look pretty.
Yeah, I'm not going to give them that. But so I would say more Evolution, which I mean is fine. They were a great group. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I thought MJF, he did a great job of establishing them. I know Jason Powell said he didn't really explain why he joined Inner Circle in the first place. And that's fine. Corey, my question is, and I was thinking about this because they're talking about Adam Page joining the Dark Order, which I don't think he should.
Oh, I think okay.
I think because I think he's a main eventer, and I think the Dark Order. I love the Dark Order, but the Dark Order is a great mid-card comedy stable, and I don't think Page elevates them. Who else is in that stable? It's him. He's the only guy. Not for nothing, he can't be sitting there with the world title, and he's got like Johnny Hungy and these guys. Like, they're funny, they're great, but he can't be running that stable and try to be world champion. Like, there's no way. So, but he's going to join Dark Order. I mean, we all know that. So, my question is, are there two? Again, you're talking about a stable guy. I love stables. Are there too many?
Sure. Stables or groups. I mean, like, I feel like the Inner Circle / the Pinnacle are a little bit different than the Death Triangle. I think those type of things are a little bit different. But I mean, I think absolutely. There are too many stables.
Poor Butcher and the Blade. They've been in like 3 staples in the past year.
And that's something that was brought up in the Wrestling Life group. To the Butcher and the Blade, and I know it's something we're not going to talk about, but just something that was brought up in the group. We'll say this very quickly. People like the Butcher and the Blade, are they helped by being in a stable with Matt Hardy? Or
absolutely not?
See, I don't know, because
Are they? How'd they do with Eddie Kingston? Did they win a match? Have they won a match?
Well, they won this week.
Oh, the 5-man silly match with a bunch of people in there. That doesn't mean anything. I'm talking about them on their own. Stables are supposed to elevate the people in them.
Right.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
isn't that the idea of putting together these two guys with an established act like a Matt Hardy who's been in the business forever, and see if his experience, everything else, can rub off on them and make them bigger stars.
His experience could rub off. What are we? What is this
Well,
like? What is this like? We're bringing Jason Witten last year with the Raiders. We're bringing him a locker room leader, so he rubs off on how to be a leader. No, this is pro wrestling.
Isn't that why private parties
wrestling?
Isn't that why private parties with him?
I don't know why private parties with them. What are private party? Are they heels? Are they baby faces? I enjoyed the pairing when Matt Hardy was, because they are young. Butcher and the Blade, they're our age. Butcher and the Blade looks like he's older than me. Private Party, initially, I did like that. Mm-hmm. I thought it was good, great tag team wrestler, bringing the tag teams as a, babyface, whatever. Then he started doing this money mat thing. And Private Party, I don't know what they are. I do not think the only thing that this group has helped is Matt Hardy, which I think is kind of the point where he's supposed to be, an asshole. But this group certainly hasn't helped anybody. So, I know whatever we're kind of getting in the weeds with the Butcher and the Blade, but no, I think the Matt Hardy group is I don't want to say awful, but not great. It's a stable that I do not care about. But having little groups are fine. Like Moxley and Eddie Kingston are, they're two guys who are there for each other. I don't mind that. But, 5 groups of, everyone's got to have a group of 5. Why? Why does everyone have to have a group? Because then the groups are just jobber groups. The Dark Order is not beating anybody. And, they're just not. They don't have a main eventer in there. They're not beating anyone. You compare them to the Pinnacle, who has MJF, the former tag team champions, Shawn Spears, who was a big, it's just so, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Too many stables. Yeah,
like I said, we'll see where this goes. I mean, I guess my last thing on this before we move on to the last AEW part of this show is how long. I don't think, and I think you'll agree with this, Tony Khan is doing so many things at once. I don't think he'll be able to hold back. But would you have the Inner Circle return on your next set of live tapings, which is this upcoming week, or would you keep them out longer to sell the injuries and everything else? How long?
Keep them out longer. I'm all for keeping. They have enough stuff going on. They had Ethan Page debut. Then he wasn't on this week. You had Scorpio Sky turn. They did a video package with him, which I'm really glad they followed up with it, and that was good. They've got so much going on, They have enough people that they can continue to build up. I mean, look at that that whole promo with Sting and Darby Allin. They had to cram all that stuff in quickly, and I thought it was okay. I did not think it was a disaster. And you got Christian Cage. So there's just so much stuff that they have there. I think it's good to, keep that going. Because I think that could be a storyline that, what is it? It's, March 18th. That could be their storyline easily to All Out, easily, and maybe even beyond.
Yeah, I still think that once things are hopefully back to normal in September, when you have that big show in, Newark, that War Game style match, Blood and Guts, I fully expect that. If they can hold off, I think that's your big War Games, style match, Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle. But Jay, the last thing on AEW, we had the Kingston Moxley versus the Good Brothers, which in the notes I wrote the Mood Brothers, so I didn't realize until I just said that now. But the match itself was fine. I thought the promo that Kingston and Moxley did, they're 2 of the best promos in the company, even in the business right now. They're both at doing great work. But afterwards, you had them, the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega take out Kingston and then try to take out Moxley. The Young Bucks came down. Yeah, the whole time thing early in the show with Don Callis, try to go tell them, we want the New Japan version of the Bucks. Do you think the next thing here is a 6-man with Kenny and the Good Brothers versus Moxley and the Young Bucks, holding off, the Death Triangle versus the Young Bucks and the Young Bucks versus, other tag teams? Or where do you think this is going, short term?
So first of all, I didn't think Moxley and Kingston had their best promo.
Mhm.
I thought Kingston was great at the end with the but I thought Moxley wasn't at his best, which is fine. Every week that he's making it up as he goes along. So so it was fine. The match itself was just fine. They Jason Powell pointed us out. They are gonna have to make the Good Brothers win, win
Once in a
these
while.
matches here. Yeah. Um I enjoy what they're doing with the Bucks. I really do. I think this is kind of where they need to get to with them. They are established stars. They are the main events. And they need to continue to play off them being the main event. They're not these plucky kids from Southern California who made it.
They're no longer the young Bucks.
They're no longer that. They are the main event now. They have made it. Everybody needs to circle around them. And I think that's the way they need to build the storyline. And I think they've finally figured that out. And so I like what Callis said. I enjoyed that. So I'm really enjoying that story with those guys. I don't know what they do. I'm really not sure there. I don't think they go to physicality with the Bucks and the Brothers and Omega. I just don't think that's somewhere they go. So the next show isn't all out. What's the next show?
Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing in May, right?
Right. Memorial Day weekend or Labor Day, whichever.
Yeah. So maybe they go. Oof. I mean,
I'm not even saying that. I'm saying more if you can have that possible 6-man match to go up against,
no, absolutely not.
The NXT show.
Absolutely not. If you're gonna have that be physical, you're gonna wait till it's a pay-per-view. You're gonna make people spend your money. You're not gonna pop that for a rating. You're gonna make people spend their money on pay-per-view to see that happen, in my opinion. Now, Tony Khan sometimes, he gets a little bit, funny. But I absolutely would wait to a pay-per-view to do that. Now, I know eventually they're going to do some Christian against Omega, which I really think they should wait until All Out, but who knows what they do. I think if you're going to do physicality with the Good Brothers and the Bucks, you wait.
I mean, I don't disagree, but I think if it's all a swerve, and we'll get head on to NXT in 1 second, but if this is all a swerve and the Young Bucks are still part of Kenny Omega's stable with the Bullet Club, you could have a match on AEW Dynamite where you think it's a 6-man and all of a sudden they tag in and they all just turn on Moxley and you have them go back together again and you have them all part of this heel.
Sure. You wouldn't want to do that on a pay-per-view, obviously. But yes, I agree with you. But if you're going to have a match, I don't think you do like a real match. I don't think you do that until a pay-per-view.
Right. So moving on to NXT this week. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat, I understand that NXT a lot of it was rebooked because this isn't to pick on WWE or NXT, but we had another COVID outbreak this week. So there was a lot of guys that weren't there, and a lot of the matches that might have been advertised were changed. So they were extremely shorthanded. But I really felt this was kind of a filler episode that was good for what it was because it led into a lot of storylines going into your big NXT special Wrestlemania week. But Jay, it wasn't the classic, in-ring product that we usually see. I mean, the Zoe match with Dakota Kai was fine.
I thought that was a really good match. I really enjoyed that match.
It was good, but I'm just saying, it wasn't the usual. Oh my God! Everything. This was
oh no! I mean, I think this was one of their weaker shows in a long time. I think this was a weak show. The Austin Aries thing, Gargano clearly was affected by the outbreak. I mean,
Austin Theory.
Austin Theory wrestled. No, Austin Theory wrestled, but Gargano wasn't there.
No, you said Austin Aries by accident.
Austin Aries. Well, there you go. So Austin Theory. Austin Aries. Well, when's he gonna? Where's he at?
NWA. Yeah.
Is he?
Tyrus. No.
I mean, shit. If they got Tynus out there, they could certainly use, Austin Aries. Yeah, I thought the show was okay. Just barely okay. They did the whole thing with the, tag guy. The guys going for the tag title. that might have been out of necessity. I could see them having to have done that out of
Right,
necessity.
and that match got a little bit screwed up because of the injury to Danny Burke, where he separated his shoulder, and that match kind of got a little bit off kilter as a result. But the end angle after the match, I thought was done really well. So
yes, I agree. They're trying to get you there with Karrion Kross and Balor. It's gonna be a little hard for me, but the rest of that card is gonna look really, really good. So yeah, I thought the Adam Cole Kyle O'Reilly thing was a little goofy, but I don't mind a company taking chances as long as they're not completely insulting me like the Jeff Hardy Sheamus drunk driving thing from a while ago. If it's something silly like wrestling silly, I can deal with it. So again, the show I thought was fine. And this is all build up for their big show in a couple of weeks. It seems like they have most of the card or a lot of the card kind of figured out. So, we'll see, but that's going to be a tremendous, tremendous show.
So we had the two returns. We had Jordan Devlin and Walter, or Walter, as some would say. What do you think of the return of Jordan, separating all the stuff outside the ring? What do you think of the return of Jordan Devlin and setting up the unification match, which is a big thing that I guess every company's doing nowadays?
They actually have to do it. They actually do have someone who had the title. That's actually not yeah. I think Escobar should lose it and then face Balor for the title. I know Karrion Kross is probably going to win, but I think they should have Santos lose it and then go against Balor. That's the feud. That's the feud to me. But anyway, yes, I enjoyed it. I think they're going to have a freaking hell of a match. I think it's going to be great. I enjoyed what they did there. So yeah, no, I think that's going to be a very, very good match.
And the return of Walter.
Oh, Walter, yeah, I think
him versus Ciampa. I think.
Yeah, Ciampa's been someone who they haven't really known what to do with. He's been in the mid card. He's been Dusty Classic, Timothy Thatcher. They haven't known what to do with him, and it's like, okay, well, now we have someone for him to go against. Is it for the NXT UK title, and does it headline one of the nights? And does Ciampa maybe win the title? And then you have something where maybe Ciampa goes to the UK for a little bit. Maybe he gets a little bit of a reset. So I don't know. There's different things that they could do, some different things that they could do there. But I think I'm glad that Ciampa's getting a little bit of a spotlight. He's tremendous, and they just don't have anything to do with him right now. And this is one of the things with NXT of these guys staying there for so long. After a while, it's like, well, what do we do with them? He's not going to the main roster, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I'm definitely excited about Walter and Ciampa and the unification match.
Yeah. So before we do our Fastlane prediction, a show that I don't think WWE really cares about.
Absolutely not.
Especially on the Raw side.
That's Sunday. That's on Sunday, right?
Yes,
oh
it is.
My God.
And I think both of us might be watching a little bit of college basketball heading into that, so we may not be.
Absolutely.
And if you want, you could always watch 60 Minutes and The Equalizer and everything else on CBS. But cheap plug for where I may or may not work my day job. But what was your thoughts though on AEW? The ratings being, and especially in the key demos, their lowest since January. You had a pretty hot match. It was a theme show with, what's it called? With St. Patrick's Day. This might have been the first time that people, especially if you had the vaccination, might have gone out for an actual holiday. You think that affected the number because they skew younger? What do you think? They won the night, but what do you think was the reason why, at least in the key demos, they were down for the lowest rating since January? Is it a women's main event? What do you think might be the?
So no idea what the weather was like all over the country. Chicago wasn't particularly great weather. St. Patrick's Day, it's not. I don't know if people are like going nuts. A lot of bars still are doing. It's not like you can just go to a bar and just there's a million people going to bars now. So I think that's still. So I know that's a factor. I think maybe the women's main event was a factor. right? I mean, they've done a better job of highlighting certain women, but they've still done a poor job of highlighting women overall. You know, I love what Thunder Rosa said at the end of her promo, where she talked about, like, I came here to show how important women's wrestling is. And I don't think AW has done the same thing. I really don't. I think they've spoken it, and I think they've like tried to tell us, but I don't think they've done that. Last night they showed us a little bit, but I don't think they've given the audience that much to lead us to those two. So I think, yeah, you know, you're gonna always have a segment of people who don't want to watch women's wrestling. You people who are sexist or whatever, right? So maybe that was it, or maybe this is a 1 week drought, which happens because I think NXT's ratings were not good either. So
Yeah, they were their lowest in a while.
yeah, so I probably just a 1 week drought, nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, Felipe.
Oh, or maybe everyone got their stimulus checks and was celebrating. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it may have been like me, waiting online to see if they can get a PlayStation 5 from whichever service is. But Felipe from our Total Basis podcast, which you can catch on Sunday mornings, wrote in our chat. I know that it was doing a fantasy baseball slow draft. St. Patrick's Day was the slowest day for us so far. So it might have been people were going out, but it's one example of what could have been going on. So I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
But Jay, so let's get this out of the way because I believe that WWE is kind of just wants this last pay-per-view, the first in the Peacock era, and today was the first day that WWE network subscribers could move over to Peacock Fastlane. On the SmackDown side, it looks like they actually at least kind of care. On the Raw side, I'm not so sure of that.
Well, I mean, the SmackDown side, it makes sense, right? Because they're building toward, the Bryan match could affect the main event. So it makes sense. Whereas Raw, I don't even, do they have any matches? So, it's a little bit different, obviously. So it makes sense. But yeah, let's go through the card really quickly.
All right. So let's, so the big match is for the WWE Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan with special guest referee, either Edge or Jey Uso. And we didn't bring it up earlier, but for the first time in many, many, many years, Edge will actually have a match on SmackDown this week, which will be interesting if he's some sort of a ratings draw going against the non-sports fan who won't be watching the NCAA tournament. Edge versus Jey Uso on SmackDown this week. I would think Edge is going to win that match. I don't think you have him lose. Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. Does Roman win this match, or do we get some sort of screwy finish, setting up, two challengers, one on each night? I mean, where do you think this is going?
I feel like Reigns wins, but it's a screwy finish with Edge and Bryan. And then they do, okay, Edge says, all right, well, I'll put my spot on the line. You say, I'm not there yet. I'll put my spot on the line against you. So I think we somehow get to Edge against Daniel Bryan. That's where I think we get, but I don't think Daniel Bryan wins the title, but I think somehow we get to Edge against Daniel Bryan. Again, they got 2 weeks to do it after this. So I think, so that's where I think we get to.
Yeah. I don't think we have a 3-way at Mania, but I think the idea you said something of maybe a night one of Mania, Bryan versus Edge, and the winner faces Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Kind of like the G1,
Yeah. I think we can go there. Intercontinental title match. Big E coming off maybe one of the best promos of his life versus the new and improved Apollo Crews. It's one of those matches where I don't know if either guy really should lose.
I know.
And I don't think you want a screwy finish here.
I know.
You could always get ones with, Sami Zayn, always in the picture with, him and his TV crew and everything, which apparently it's a real documentary they're doing, which is even the more crazy part about this angle. But I don't think it's time to take the title off of Big E. So I'm going to say Big E, but Apollo looks strong. So
I don't think there's I mean, how many screwy finishes can we have? I mean, the pay-per-view is such a junk garbage pay-per-view that they don't care about. It's like in your house. Like I feel like this should be a WrestleMania match. So
I mean,
So maybe Apollo wins and then Big E wins it back. I don't know. I think neither guy should lose. I'm just gonna say because maybe they want to give people on Peacock something, and they've given Apollo Crews this push. Maybe Apollo Crews wins and then loses it at WrestleMania. I don't know. Let's go with that.
all right. Continuing on this great card.
I mean, the first those two matches are gonna be good. I mean, I'm looking forward to those two matches.
Well, this is when it starts to get a little bit. I mean, one of these matches that's still on the card actually is pretty good, but not this one. WWE Women's Tag Team match rematch from their last show. Champions Nia Jax and the workhorse of this team, Shayna Baszler, versus Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Last time, Reginald caused the loss. I think once again, this time I think we mostly get the Sasha Banks full heel turn and the split, because as much as they want to go and make us think we're going to get the Cena Michaels storyline going into WrestleMania, the two champions, and as nice as they want to have everybody be, Becky 2 belts, Bianca 2 belts, and everything else, Bayley 2 belts.
I don't think she turns heel though. I think maybe she's like mad at her. I mean, they're two. Sometimes I think we get into this thing where wrestling has to be heel and babyface, and I think sometimes
I just don't think Vince can do a story of just having two strong wrestlers being babyfaces. One has to be a heel. I just don't think he.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying like maybe I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. I mean, Asuka and Charlotte, they didn't do that. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, they didn't do that. So maybe this time he doesn't do that either. I mean, he can have Sasha be heelish because she's been heelish, and even as a babyface, she's always kind of a heel. So they could do that, but I don't think she needs a full-on turn or whatever. So yeah, but I agree with you. There'll be something with them, and they'll fight, and they won't win the title. Something like with Balor and Karen Cross on Wednesday. It'll be something similar. It just be, but we gotta see Nia Jax out there for 10 to 15 minutes. So.
In the feud that never truly developed in the way that I think people thought it would, Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, and where Sheamus turned on his best friend and never actually got a title shot.
What did he get out of this? What was the reason? They talk about like Edge being the ultimate opportunist. This is the worst heel turn of all time. The heel turn got him a match with 6 other dudes in Elimination Chamber, and it got him on the undercard of a pay-per-view that nobody gives a shit about. And no direction for WrestleMania. I mean, he would have been better off being Drew's buddy the whole time. Corey. This sounds like it's one of those things they turn him heel with no long-term plan, or they had a plan and then they changed their mind and they're like, "Oh shit, we turned him heel." They've never even explained why he turned heel. They've asked him. Drew McIntyre. You know what? This is how you know the writing is bad. When they write something for a wrestler who admits the writing is bad, they're like Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre's like, I don't know why Sheamus even turned on me. Why did he turn on me? I would have given him a title match if he would have asked. Then why did he turn? And Sheamus hasn't explained it at all. At all. It is just, but their matches have been good. So, I mean, I guess whatever, right? But,
from depending on where you go, some places have this being a match. Some places it's been removed from the cards. Don't know if it's actually going to happen, but Braun Strowman, the guy who apparently got bullied in school, which I think is actually the Lars Sullivan story, but he's no longer with the company. So he's got this and apparently got slimed. I don't know where that came from. I think someone saw the Nickelodeon Awards or something, versus Shane McMahon, everyone's favorite bully, I guess now. I couldn't care less. I'm guessing this is some sort of non-finish, and this just gets redone at WrestleMania. So Shane could either get thrown off of the pirate ship or, get thrown into the pirate ship. I don't care. You
know how I feel.
All right. Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. This has got to be the return of the Fiend.
Hold on. Say that one more time. Alexa Bliss, a 5'1" woman who's
playing a
115 pounds, going against a 6'4", 250-pound man.
Yep. Magic.
That's a match on a network show. Thank God they're not doing real pay-per-views anymore. Nobody would order this shit.
Boy, this is what Peacock got for their money. But I think this is most likely going to be, a couple of minute thing where we have the return of the Fiend setting up the match at WrestleMania.
Yes, absolutely.
This is what we call cinematic. I don't know if has not been announced yet, but possibly on SmackDown, maybe we get a SmackDown title match between, the Dirty Dogs and
Street Profits.
Street Profits. I mean, they've had good matches together. Maybe that turns into another,
like a pre, because I mean, there's not that many matches. There's one, two, three, four, five. There's only 5 I mean, the Bliss Orton, I know you can't count that. So there's really only 5 matches. So yeah, maybe they sneak that on there.
Right. And I don't think they go with Cesaro and Seth yet. I think they'll
that's WrestleMania.
Hold that off until WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree. So overall, we do excitement level. I'm at a point. I'm at a 2 because of the Universal title match and the IC title match. So I'll say 2.5. 2.5.
Yeah, I mean those 2 matches, and not knowing exactly how this is going to turn out for the Universal title, I'll say around a 3. I mean, if I'm going to say the usual thing, if this wasn't part of my network subscription and it wasn't $10, this is a total missable show.
Absolutely.
So, Jay, before we do our last topic of the week, the return of the NWA, how about you let people know how they can follow us on all the social medias, and let people know about our wonderful partners at the Life Group.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the Wrestle Life Group. So we are Worked Shoot Wrestling Podcast, not the Work Shoot Wrestling Podcast. We've retired that name. So Worked Shoot Wrestling Podcast. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast. So check us out. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Worked Shoot Pod. So that's our name, WROKED Shoot Pod. The great Jackie Endy helps us with Instagram, since Corey and I don't know anything about it. Although my pictures have gotten better with Reggie and Troy, my cat and dog, respectively. So check us out on there. Please rate and review if you listen to the show and you're like, hey, these guys are like not absolute like suck fest, then rate us, give us 5 stars. It kind of helps us move up in the rating, so that'd be great. And then we are part of the great Life Group of podcasts. On Monday, we've got Dong City with Henry and Vince. Tuesday, that's baseball. Tuesday, that's more traditional talking baseball. Tuesday, we've got The Audible with Matt and Randy. A lot of stuff going on with football, free agency. It's crazy. Wednesday, we've got The Step Back with Jacob and Leon. You've got us on Thursdays. And then Total Base is more of a fantasy show with Felipe and Sean. So yeah, check us out. Check out any of those Life Group shows. They're tremendous. The guys in there are really good guys. They're fun shows. So check them out. And
Jay, I believe there's one other podcast that we promote, our sister podcast. I'm having trouble remembering what it's called. Can you give me a little update on what that show might be?
You don't know Jackie. You don't know Jackie. Jackie Endy, Jackie Rachel, Jackie Corey. You don't know Jackie, the comedy podcast for the ages.
There is no Jackie Corey. But this past week, we went and found out what the latest idea is for Brandon's latest documentary, which you'll have to listen to find out. It will surprise many. Jason, you may or may not be interviewed for that. May give you a hint what it could be based on. But, we will find out as things go along. But absolutely, check out the show. It gets better every week. We are getting closer and closer to episode 100. And when we get there, who knows what may or may not happen. We're at episode 89, so 11 more to 100. But Jay, just like you said, rate, review, subscribe, and we will always love the support that everyone gives us. But Jay, the final topic of the week, after basically a year away and a couple of shows on iPay-per-view, the NWA is back. NWA back for the attack is happening Sunday afternoon at 4:00. So a nice little cushion before the really bad Fastlane pay-per-view. I mean, I think most sports fans who are a little bit crossover we are will be mostly watching the second round of the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely.
But you got a chance to quickly look at the card. I mean, the main event is Nick Aldis versus Aaron Stevens in memory of the question mark, former Josephus. They're bringing back a lot of people. They've lost a lot of people due to when they were out. This is also leading to the return to Fight TV, which we'll get to, in later weeks on how that's being rolled. I think you actually have to pay for the episodes, which I don't know was the best idea. But Jay,
real of NWA Power?
Yeah, I mean, I have to read more into that. But I mean, shows will be on Fight TV, which we spoke about a couple of weeks back. But what's your thoughts on the return of the NWA this Sunday?
Yeah. So looking at the card here, my phone's at 1%, so it's gonna die soon. Nick Aldis against Stevens, Elijah Burke against Tom Lattimore. I think that could be an interesting match. Trevor Murdoch against the masterpiece, Chris Mass. What was he called? The masterpiece?
Chris Master. Yeah, your masterpiece. Chris
Masterpiece against the masterpiece. You talk about different body styles. Oh boy, Trevor Murdoch to the masterpiece. Tyrus against J.A. Krotos. I don't really know.
He's one half of the tag team champions.
Yeah.
With Aaron Stevens.
Yeah. Thunder Rosa against Camille. And then a bunch of guys who I don't know. Crimson. So it's not a bad show, actually. Aldis against Stevens could be interesting. Elijah Burke, I haven't seen him wrestle in forever against Tom Lattimore. I was always a Elijah Burke fan. Trevor Murdoch against Masters could be decent. Tyrus, I don't know why they have him in this. It doesn't make any sense. Thunder Rosa against Camille could be interesting because, Camille hasn't been a wrestler for very long. So how's that going to work? So that could be interesting. So I think it's an interesting show. Would I pay for it? No.
$19.99.
Yep. No, that's about $19.99 more than I want to spend. And mainly because and it's hard. You'd be basically blindly saying, I'm giving this company money because I miss them in the pandemic. It basically, you'd be giving them some sort of charity, essentially. Right? They haven't had storylines. I didn't even know who the champions were. So it would be hard. But that being said, it's not like if you bought this, you'd be like, oh my God, that was horrible. I spent $20. I think the show could be decent. And hopefully they lead it into, storyline stuff, but more so than the show, kind of whatever, right? What is NWA Power going to look like moving forward? I think that's going to be really, really interesting. And, do they make people pay for it? That's going to be a hard sell. I guess they're going to be counting on people getting their stimulus checks and using the NWA Power if that's the case. But we'll see. But I'm glad they're back. Above all else, I'm glad they're back, and I hope that they're successful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a tough sell, especially when you have a much more established product a week later in ROH, which we'll talk about, their 19th anniversary show next week. And I believe that show will most likely be a little more than $19.99. I think their shows are usually somewhere like in the $34 range or 30. I think they're somewhere around there. So, I mean, if you had to choose between, your extra income on a pay-per-view
it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Lethal versus Rush for EC3 versus Jay Briscoe is much better than anything else on that card.
They can't compete. I mean, the Ring of Honor pay-per-view is better than the Impact, better than at least on paper. They just have more talent. They have more money. I think what Impact does with their money is fantastic, but Impact or Ring of Honor just has more money. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the problem is for NWA is they didn't come back in like February or January when things were like a little slower. I mean, we got March Madness, you got basketball soon, you got WrestleMania, you got unification titles. Although, I mean, there's just so much going on that, you know, it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell. So hopefully they do okay though.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, we'll look to see what the results are. And if it's a really good show, you know, maybe we'll go back and take a look at highlights and maybe we'll talk about how it went. And I guess the very last thing, this weekend, something I'll be checking out will be the quarterfinals and the finals of the New Japan Cup. Jay, the quarterfinals on the 20th will be Will Ospreay versus David Finlay and Evil versus Shingo. You have any, I know your pick going into this was Jay White. Jay White lost to David Finlay in an upset. My pick is still alive, and Will Ospreay. With the remaining four guys, what do you think is going to win this? Do you think it's going to be the guy who seems like they're pushing as a new big babyface in Shingo, or do you think we get, you know, like Will Ospreay getting the shot? And
I mean, if it's Ospreay or Shingo, I'd be fine. Those are like two of my favorite guys going right now. I'm gonna say Ospreay gets the push. I'm gonna say I'll go with you. Yeah.
Ospreay versus Ibushi coming up at, I guess, Dominion. Hey, I don't think you can go wrong with either Ospreay or Shingo. I think Evil would be a disaster because, you know, I just don't think Evil is as good as he could be right now, and I just think that it's too big of a stage for David Finlay. But Jay, I think we covered a lot of good topics this week. Hopefully, Fastlane is better than we expect because, you know, usually shows we don't love, at least the wrestling is good.
They'll work hard.
Yeah, definitely will do that. So, Jay, as always, the final word is yours as we get ready for the NCAA tournament.
I think we're done here. See ya.